Good morning, everyone. Hope all is well. Hope everyone's doing all right. All right. Hope everybody's had a great weekend. Sorry for running a few minutes behind. Good morning. Good morning. All right. Give me 1 second. All right. I think I'm set now. So, did anybody have any questions on anything? Tried any problems, get stuck, any concepts before we go anywhere else? Last class we closed out 7.2, so we did 7.1 and 7.2. And there's only two sections in those chapters. I mean, in that chapter. So, anybody have any questions on anything? Anybody? Okay. See how long this goes. Okay, I'll just start. All right, let me find. So nobody, before I do something, everybody good? Nobody looking for anything? All right, let me find these problems real quick. Just trying to pull some problems from the e-text real quick. Once I get in there, then we'll be ready to roll. All right, so we're gonna look at number 38. Oh, while I was doing that, didn't want to highlight the page. All right, so when you look at assignment 3, I do want you guys to try out these problems right here. Oh, yeah, right here. And so notice I gave you 37 to 39 to try out, so I'm going to do 38. But all of these are just talking about z-scores and stuff like, and greater than, less than, between, that type of scenario like we did last class. So make sure you try these problems out, preferably before next class, so you know if you have any questions before we jump into chapter 8. But yeah, so we're going to look at number 38 on this page. No, you can do all of them. Yeah, there's only six problems, only six problems. So, but all of them build upon the process of, your z-scores, using the z-score chart. And once again, they're all odds, so you can check your answer in the back. But I do want you guys to try them out because the things we do moving forward will be dependent upon your ability to use your Z-score, Z-score chart, stuff like that. So at least try some of the problems out. The process, you want to know if you can do the process with no questions or not before we jump into chapter 8. All right. So let's go to number 38. So it says the reading speed of sixth grade students is approximately normal with mean of 125 and 125 words per minute and standard deviation of 24 words per minute. Draw the normal model that describes the reading speed of sixth grade students. Find and interpret the probability that a randomly selected student reads less than 100 words per minute. This same thing reads more than 140 minutes. And then we got between 110 and 130. And then would it be unusual more than 200? All right, so let me take a picture of this so I don't have to keep going back and forth. Let's go to the notes. All right, so best way to start these problems off is write down the given information first. And the constant between all of these problems, or throughout, not all of these problems, throughout this problem and all of these questions in this problem, is that they give you the mean to be 125, standard deviation to be 24. All right. So A, it says draw a normal model that describes the reading speed of sixth graders. Remember, the normal model is just this, the bell-shaped curve. So if it's approximately normal, that's all they're talking about. Just a rough sketch. You know, that's the keywords that will tell you that. What's the other thing they could say? You know, when you say approximately normal, or it could say normally distributed. So all of that means the same thing. All right. All right, so they want us to find and interpret the probability that a randomly selected sixth grade student reads less than 100 words per minute. All right, so the first thing you want to do is convert to a Z-score. Remember, Z-score is always going to be, well, before I go that, let me do this. Whatever values in question, in other words, less than whatever number, more than, between, that's going to be your X value. So X is 100 when we're talking about our Z-score. And your Z-score is always your data value minus the mean divided by your standard deviation. So that's 100 minus 125 over 24, right? 125, 124. It's negative 1.04. And you always round your Z-scores to 2 decimal places. So this was a run-on decimal, but like I said, you always round to 2 decimal places. All right, questions on that before we go to the chart? So we have negative 1.04. Look for negative 1.0 over here, 0.004. Up here, and where they meet will be our chart value. Okay, my pictures are pulled up. Give me a second. Okay, oh, that's right, it's in the other folder. Sorry, they kicked me out of my stuff, so I gotta find out where I do my, there we go. So just going back to the chart, making sure we're okay with how to read it. So negative 1.0 is right here, 0.04 is right here. So we want to see where they meet. And it's at 0.1492. Any problems with that before we go back to the notes? All right, so we have 0.1492. All right, so chart always gives less than, and that's what we're looking for. So we're going to use the chart value. So go back to what they were asking. So I'm not going to write down all the sentences for each one of the answers. But I want to at least do it for the first one so you see how you would write it out or how you would interpret it or how MATLAB may word it. Or they may just ask for the decimal value or they may ask for the percentage. So you got to pay attention to what they give you, what they're asking of you. They will make it clear what they want from you in your answer. So all I did was rewrite the question and then put the answer in the back of. So the probability that a randomly selected sixth grade student reads less than 100 words per minute is 0.1492, or in other words, 14.92%. All right, so once again, MATLAB could give you a choice of sentences to choose from. They may just ask for the decimal, or they may put the answer in percentage, but either way, it will be clear what they're asking of you. All right, questions before we look at the next one, before we look at B. All right, the next one is more than 140 words per minute. So it's the same process. So this time our data value is 140. So 140 minus 125 divided by 24 is going to be 0.63. Once again, we're going to round our decimal to 2 places and then hit the chart. All right, so you go to the 1 decimal place that needs to be up top. And then everything that comes before it needs to be on this left column. I'll show you chart one more time. I think we'll be good after that. So notice it's the positive 0.63. So I go to the positive and always make sure, because sometimes people forget that. Notice this is a negative column. Then the next page is the positive side, or the positive column, the positive numbers. So just make sure you pay attention to that. So it's 0.6 and then 3. So it's 0.7357. Any problems before we go to the next step? You only go to negatives if your z-score is negative. If it's positive, then you go to the positive chart. So remember our last one was negative. When you remember A was a negative number, so we went to the negative page. All of these values are negative, but this value that we have here in B is positive, so we go to the positive page, which is this page right here. So all of these are positive, all of these are negative. So your z-score will let you know which page to go to. Hopefully that answered your question. If not, let me know. Yep. If your z-score is positive or negative. Not a problem. All right, so the chart gives us less than. Remember that last problem. The chart always gives you less than, but we want more than. So we're going to subtract the chart value from 1. All right, so that'll be our answer. Questions before we look at the next one? Sorry, this should be C. Yep, AB. That was C, and this one is D. All right. All right, so this time between 110 and 130 words per minute. Remember I told you on 3 scenarios, less than, more than, and between. So we have 2 X values, so we need to find the z-scores for each one of them individually. Matter of fact, I think I'm gonna do this one purple. Sorry about that, I had to sneeze. All right, so first z-score, 110 minus 125 divided by 24 gives us negative 0.63. Second z-score, 130 minus 125 divided by 24 gives us 0.21. All right, going to get my chart value. All right, so you go to the chart individually for each individual Z-score. So we're gonna have two chart values. All right, so to find between, you want to subtract both chart values. All right, 0.3189. Last one, E, would it be unusual for a sixth grader to read more than 200 words per minute? All right, so convert to a Z-score first. So we got 3.13 as our Z-score. Get your chart value. So we got 0.9991 from the chart. All right. So now we're looking for more than. So we're going to take that value, subtract it from 1. .0009. And now we need to ask ourselves, is it unusual? Remember our marker or our standard for unusual for this book. Let me see how I want to write it. Hey, I got it right. So to be unusual means that the probability is less than 0.05, or in other words, 5%. And you see our probability is less than that. So this is unusual. Questions. Everybody good before I go to another page? You always subtract from 1 if it's asking about more than. Remember, that's what the question said. Said more than. Yeah, more than, greater than, anything that suggests, along those lines, then you will subtract it from 1. Questions on the 3 scenarios out of chapter 7. Very good. Once again, these are your only 3 scenarios: less than, greater than, or between. Once again, greater than, same thing as more than. And so there'll be key phrases, that will hit at whether you're doing less than or greater than. And so if it's less than, though, you use the chart value. Chart value is the answer. If it's more than, greater than, then you subtract the chart value from 1. And then between, you're going to subtract the 2 chart values from each other. So going back to this, so as far as the assignment, if you want to get credit for it, you want to give it to me as soon as possible. I won't put a due date on this one necessarily, because really it's about you guys using this to get ready for the stuff in chapter 7 and to go ahead and get into chapter 8. So you want to if you want to get credit for it to go towards your points for your final grade, and you want to get that to me as soon as possible. But you do want to at least try some of these problems before next class. Next class, I'll open up the floor again for questions on chapter 7. If there are not any, then I'll jump into chapter 8. All right. Anything from anybody before we close today?
I have a question.
Yep.
What is our test on? Is it on 7 and 8 or just 7?
Yeah, 7 and 8, yes.
Okay.
Mhm. All right. Anybody else? Anybody else? Everybody good? Okay. So if you guys are good, I'm good. Like I said, try the stuff out. See if you have any questions. The floor will be open next class for you to ask questions. Um, and we'll go from there. Somebody said, is this assignment as credit? Um, I'll put it, oh, I guess you could call it that, but it would just be an assignment grade. And I will put it towards your points. It was, help in your grading, of course, as far as homework is concerned. So yeah, I guess you can call it extra credit. But yeah. All right. So if you guys are good, I'm good. You guys have a great day. Be safe, and I will see you next class.